right.
My name is Bonnie Lou.
Okay.
Okum. I'll go, my professional name, Bonnie Lou. My real name is Mary Joanne. I'm named after my grandmother, Mary, and my grandfather, Joe, and they added the Ann. Mary Joanne. And my sister was Eleanor Jean. My mother loved double names. So I was born and raised in Carlock, Illinois. Well, yeah, near Carlock. And my father farmed farms, 60-40. The owner got 60 and we got 40. And we raised chickens, and mother had a great big truck garden, truck patch, because that was the thing, the women, they would always take the friend to the basement and show them all the canned goods they had canned during the summer. Mother had 100 and some. She really did. Mother canned and canned. And the best thing was the vegetable soup, because that was part of corn and tomatoes and green beans from the garden. It was wonderful. Oh, well, my mother played the piano and sang. And she always kidded about me. I was 3 years old, and the church, always had their big Christmas cantata, and I go dancing off the stage. Oh, my mother, she was about died. There I am up there dancing to the music, I guess, away in a manger. And so she said, that's when I knew you were musical, Mary Jo. She said, when I saw you dancing to the music, to the piano, and singing. And that's when that's how I got introduced. And then my mother would play the piano at church. And then I started taking violin lessons. And I took violin lessons for about 5 years. And I'm very thankful that I did that, because I learned, remember I told you, Brian, that I learned to read music, which was very, very convenient for me. That isn't the word I wanted to use, but I used it. And profitable too. And because I could read music, and then when I got with making records and everything, I could read that music and learn it better. Because there's a lot of people never knew how to read music at all. And so they would just hear the song through their ear, I guess, learn the music that way. Don't ask me how they do it, but they do it. And but I did it with reading the notes. And that's how I got started, really, singing in church, playing the violin. And then I had my father, I wanted to sing, so he went and got me a guitar at the pawn shop. I don't know how much Dad paid for it, not a whole lot. And, because we didn't have much money, But he got me a pawn shop guitar, and we got a new set of strings. And then I went and used to walk 5 miles on a Saturday. A gentleman by the name of Mr. Rarick taught me the chords on the guitar. I would walk that far and back. But if you want to do something and achieve something, really, no matter how hard it is, just like walking all that way on a Saturday, because I went to school during the week, and I would walk to Mr. Rarick's house and learn the C chord, the D chord, the E chord, F chord, all that I could play the guitar. And that's how I started singing then at festivals and, things like that. And trying to win some money. Yeah, I did. I won first place. Oh, in Wapakoneta? No, that isn't it. That's Ohio. I can't remember the name of the town. But anyway, It's sort of like Wapakoneta. And then also in Bloomington at the Eagles, I won $15. That's like huge. And then I started singing for a gentleman, Mr. Senator Lance. And he would come and pick me up, and I would go and sing at his campaign meetings. I would sing, and he'd pay me $10. Wow, that was monumental, in those days. And that's how I got into politics, in a way. I won't discuss that here, but anyway, it helped me, influenced me, because I would sit there and listen to Senator Lance, and he held that office in Illinois. I think he held it longer than anybody ever did, Senator Lance. And he owns a lot of land there near Congerville, Illinois. I used to listen to my grandmother, and she would go out for the cows, and she'd go, "Hello, hooty, hello, hooty," and those cows would come running, because they knew that was time to get fed, and they would get milked at that time. And that Gami would yodel to those cows, "Hello, hooty, hello, hooty." And that's how I learned to yodel, in a way, because Gami yodeled. She came from Switzerland. And so and then I would go out after the cows, and that's where I yodeled, out in the woods. I was embarrassed around, and to see that I had that gift, and I did. It's something, you're given. People say, "Can I teach you to yodel?" I wouldn't know how to do that, because I was given that gift by my grandmother and the good Lord above. Oh, radio was very important. I'm trying to think of Mr. Armstrong. Used to listen to that every afternoon on the farm. We had a battery radio, and then we'd listen to the Grand Ole Opry on Saturday night, and WLS in Chicago. That's how I got affiliated with country and western, because when I yodeled, I sure couldn't yodel to a popular song, so I had to sing country and western to yodel. And then there were some Swiss yodel songs that I would yodel to that were in the country field. But that's how I got acquainted with country music. And then I followed on. In my singing, I was on a radio station, WJBC, in Bloomington, Illinois. I was 11 years old when I went there. My dad got me that pawn shop guitar, and I went in there, and a sponsor was Sears and Roebuck, and we all got paid $2 a week, and that's where I got a lot of learning of songs. A repertoire of quite a few songs was that radio show, WJBC, in Bloomington, Illinois. And it's still in existence, WJBC. It's a big radio station now. It was then too, but it was on the campus of Illinois Wesleyan University there in Bloomington. And there was quite a staff of us, quite a few of us. My mother has pictures of me, and my sister had them, and the different musicians that I sang with at that time. There was a country, about 5 men, and I was the girl singer. And I don't think we did many bookings there in Bloomington, around Bloomington. But, see, my dad would have to take me every place because I wasn't old enough to drive. But I still started driving to Carlock, where I went to high school for 3 years. Then we moved into Bloomington, and I graduated the last year in Bloomington, BHS, Bloomington High School. And but I drove in Illinois, to Carlock. My dad bought me an old Buick no power steering, folks, no nothing. And I would pick up these kids, other students, and we'd go into Carlock High School. I don't know how I did it, but I did it, you know, in those days. You often think back, boy, how did, as I said, you know, and Dad was road commissioner, so we would go out and fill up the tank from the container for the gasoline for the road commissioner, for the road grader and stuff. And so that's how we got the gasoline for the car. But anyway, I got about like $13, $30 a month for driving. Well, I only did that on Saturdays, just on Saturdays. I went to school the rest of the time. I didn't do any bookings. Just on Saturday, we had that sponsor, you know. I think it was Sears and Roebuck. Maybe it was Montgomery Ward's. So long ago. Some of my favorite artists that appeared there on WLS in Chicago was Arkansas Woodchopper, Arky, and Millie and Dolly, the Girls of the Golden West, Lulabelle and Scotty, that's who I'm trying to think of. Well, that's how I learned a lot of my songs, was from these artists, you know, singing the songs, and then I would, you know, emulate them.
What?
Mr. McCluskey was ahead of all the talent there at WLW, and he heard about me and hired me. He wanted a girl yodeler, and I sent an audition record from KMBC in Kansas City to WLW, and that's how I got hired, on that audition record. And then my name was Sally Carson at KMBC in Kansas City. So I was 16 years old, but I wasn't old enough to sign a contract, okay? And I did sign a contract. So they couldn't hold me to it there at KMBC, because when I left, so that Bill McCluskey said, well, we can't break the, you know, he said, we'll just change your name, even though you weren't 18. We'll change it. He said, I'm Irish, Scotch-Irish. He said, I'll call you Bonnie Lou. And I said, that's fine with me. Sounds good. So that's how I got my name. Bill McCluskey named me Bonnie Lou. And all because of KMBC, because I wasn't old enough to sign a contract. When I started working at WLW, I did only the Midwestern Hayride on a Saturday night. That was it. Just the Midwest. No, that's wrong. I did an early morning show too. And then at 5 o'clock in the morning. And that was like working with Homer and Jethro and Millie and Dolly Good and all those people. And we were in the studio there was all seats, and people would come in from all over the United States to see us, to hear us perform, because we were up on a stage. And this was in the radio days, you know, and 45 and 46. So it was really wonderful. We had radio script. We had Willenay was our announcer, and then he later went on to San Diego. He was a wonderful announcer, and how I remember all those names. It's been 50-some years ago, but you do once in a while. I come across. I gotta be honest with you. The Midwestern Hayride was a script show, and you had a script. And I think Mel found one of those scripts the other day. It's something we've kept it for over 50-some years, and the artist would be, you know, I would sing and then read a line or something, and then the announcer would announce somebody else, and that's the way it went on. It was just a scripted show, and it was 1 hour on Saturday night. Chet
Same.
Atkins worked with me at WLW, and he was quite a performer. He was famous, as you people know, and he was just starting then. But he would sit around playing that guitar all the time. I never saw him without the guitar on. And then I worked with him in, for 1 year. And Homer and Jethro for 1 year. And Dolly Good was there a couple of years, because she was on the Rise and Shine show, which was a shoe polish. And it was a scripted show at 6 o'clock in the morning. Well, that was great, because they didn't have to get up early like we did. Oh, not quite as early. Anyway.